Tell us a story about how you got it too.
Worked in Canada for 8 years and had some Canadian money, and the currency exchange rate stunk. So I had to do something with the money. So I just called the guy in Quebec and said, hey, I'll take the Thor operator, and went up to Grant Settlement Farms in Ontario and picked it up and brought it back through the International Bridge.
Nice.
Where I met a guy who was into syrup with backyard syrup with his buddies. He opened up the door of the U-Haul, looked at it, and said, oh, hey, that looks really cool. We'd like one of those. Get out of here. Never looked at an invoice, never looked at it. It
Nice.
was great.
Nice.
I'm just trying to get this set.
Yep.
Normally I can make it go almost all the time, but this is the first couple draws. I had a generator go bad this morning. I had to get another generator because they don't have electricity out here, and that messed it all up and got it all consecrated and weird. So
Yeah, constant draw is hard to do on these smaller units.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
well, with the RO, it makes it a little bit easier and higher sugar content. It makes it doable.
How many gallons an hour are you getting out of this roughly?
I'm probably turning about 26 to 28 gallons of water into steam an hour. So I never looked at how many gallons of syrup I get an hour. I would imagine from an RO that's about a gallon and a half an hour. Just doing this math.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And you're on propane.
Yeah, I'm on propane, so it doesn't give me as bit of a hot boil, especially for the flue can, as fuel oil or wood would. But yeah, I'm retired. I don't really want to do a whole lot of work, so this works.
I like it. So what RO do you have here?
I have a liter micro. Taps coming in down there, up through the lower pressure pump, higher pressure pump, through the mid filter, the high pressure pump. They go through two membranes. The stuff that goes out through the membrane goes out there and it's permeate. The concentrate, sugar molecules too big to go through the filter, so it comes up through both of these membranes, and then it goes out to my boil tank up there. This gauge tells you the output of the concentrate. This tells you the output in gallons per minute of the permeate.
What are you getting in one pass out of it for concentrate? Are you getting to 4% one pass, or?
The other day when I measured it was 6.5.
Wow. So you're squeezing it.
I went from 2.5 to 6.5.
In one pass.
In one pass.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm running it.
Yeah.
A little bit, maybe a little bit high, but
That's what it's for. It's what it's meant to do, right?
yep.
So-
And,
How long have you been doing this?
I started this when I was in 10th grade in high school, and then I took the money, went to college, got my petroleum engineering degree, went to Montana School of Mines, worked for Shell for 30 years, came back, retired, and started it up again.
Wow.
So my brother did this for money for college too. He does a packaging degree from Michigan State.
Okay.
So, but back in the day, we were running 750 buckets and 1,000 pipelines. So it was a little bit
1700.
more
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. That's about where I'm at.
Okay. So you want a picture of my old tapper?
Sure. Wow. Oh, the old Tanaka.
Yeah, I'm so old I can't even get inside
Here
anymore.
Here we go.
This is how we used to tap trees
I'll be darned.
back in the day.
That is too cool.
That was a long time ago. And believe me, this thing shakes. Oh man, does it vibrate. Yeah, they had that night shaking.
1,700 taps with that?
Yeah, 1,700 taps with that.
I'll be darned.
One day I got the flu, and we had the tap, so I was running this with the flu.
That had to be fun.
It's got a little Wisconsin engine on it. Single cylinder. Yeah, here's the permeate coming out, and then the permeate tank. And then I've got a sap bubbler and about 300 taps. All pipeline coming into the gathering tanks. Pretty simple operation.
Yep. You're one of the only ones I've ever seen with sap ladders on a guzzler.
I just tried them this year because I had that part of I always used to use buckets over there.
Yep.
But my wife told me she wanted me to do buckets anymore, so I had to come up with something. So.
Yeah. You have time to go show us that?
Yeah.
It's running pretty good right now.
I used to use a rotary milk pump.
Oh yeah, for vacuum.
Surge.
Yep.
Vacuum
Yep.
pump. You got control, Lori. So I picked this part for the syrup shed because if you go up this way, all this wood goes up. You can see the elevation change.
Yep.
So this was about the low point, except for over here. And here we used to have buckets. And last year I had buckets here, and my wife said no more. So I saw this crazy thing called a sap ladder, and decided to try to make it work. So right here, we have a sap ladder. All the trees on the lower line run downhill to this point.
Yep.
And if you notice, there really isn't a lot of sap in this lower line. Now, it looks like I have a leak right there.
Yeah.
It?
Just a little one.
Yeah, there's a leak right there. So all the trees come to this, the gravity down into here, and from here it gets sucked up these lines to here. And then this line runs downhill to the sugar bush.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's definitely a leak there. I gotta move that hose clamp a little bit. So, and then I have another sap ladder over there. That's a little bit bigger sap ladder.
Yep. Now, with the sap ladders, I've heard some say that you need to have a leak at the end of the line or anything. Did you have to do that, or is this a tight sealed system and the guzzler's just pulling it? Like
this is a tight sealed system.
Tight sealed system, okay.
And if you look at the sap right here, how it's backed up.
Yep.
If there was a leak, a small pinhole at the end of the line, this would be coming through.
I see.
So this is my first year with a sap ladder. Haven't really, you can see it moving right there now.
Yep.
Eventually it starts to move at night when it starts to freeze. I come out here and I see that the lines are fairly dry of liquid.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you stand here, you can make an argument for that, but you know, when you look at it,
if it works, it works.
Working.
Yeah.
So,
is it wrong if it works?
No. So.
Yeah, you can see it going right there.
Yeah, right here it just took off. And it does that. It'll go and then it'll stop, and it'll go and it'll stop, and what I believe is happening is the CO2 that the tree produces. You can see the bubbles in this line. That's probably CO2 or air from that leak right there.
Yeah, you might actually inadvertently have a leak, and that's why it's working.
No, it works without the leak. I had it, but the CO2 from the tree actually helps bring the liquid up. In the oil and gas industry, we call that gas lift. That's bubble flow. So, and then you can see it moving down here. It's moving a little bit quicker here than over there, which leads me to believe it is sucking a little bit more air than I think it is.
Yep.
So, you're gonna have to put another clamp on that or move that clamp.
Anywhere there's a connection, it's going to find it, isn't it?
It can. So, but that's a simple sap ladder.
Yep. Very nice. Very nice. You want to go show us your water jacketed bottler that you invented?
So back in high school, there was really only my brother and I to bottle. And using the round filter and the gravity and the bottle at the bottom, you can't control it. It's too hot, it's not hot enough. There's just no control. So I was sitting in class one day, chemistry, and he said, the professor was talking about the heat of condensation and the heat of evaporation, and said, you know, in atmospheric pressures and conditions, you can't get water over 212 degrees. It'll change the steam. And it takes a bunch of energy to do that. So it'll sit there at 212 for a long time. And I was thinking, well, geez, syrup boils at 219. You got to keep it over 180. This is a match made in heaven. All I got to do is create a system with water surrounding a stainless steel pan, and I can keep that stuff at 210 degrees or 212 degrees. I can turn the heat out and it boils off, who cares? Got my little temperature gauge over here. So this is a stainless steel pan. I had a liter evaporator make, George Fogel, back in the 70s. And I put it inside this homemade contraption that I welded up. And if you look down in here, you can see the holes in here. Water from here cannot get into here. Syrup from here cannot get into here.
Yep.
So the syrup goes out these bottom 3 ports, and I added this one this year because there's too much left on the bottom. And now you have a really cool bottling unit because you got a lot of surface area there. And I bring the syrup up to about where the water in here is boiling, and it keeps it hot. And I have no problem keeping the, you can put a temperature on this. I have no problem keeping it at 200 degrees because this water jacket is keeping it warm.
Yep.
So that's how we bottle. We go from the finished man down through the filter press, up into the bottling unit pan, the stainless pan, through the water jacket, through the bottom of this thing, and we bottle right here. 4 people can bottle at the same time if we really have a lot of help.
So what year did you do this?
I did this in 1976. 1976, and then Waterloo came over the next year, and then they introduced that.
That's very cool.
But I think this was model number 000 in the industry.
Very cool.
At least it's the first one I ever heard of.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Very nice setup you have here.
Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.